Good morning, everybody. It's Dyslexia Coffee Talk. Ashley is not on camera because of the massive amount of technical difficulties we've had this morning. But here's Enid, and we are live with Tiffany James of Nessy. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
We're so happy to have you today.
I'm so glad to be here.
And we were just saying, you're in the UK, so it's nighttime there.
It's nighttime here. It's dark. It's dark here. Yeah. Everybody's having their dinner, and I have my tea though.
I know, we love it. So even though it's nighttime and it's morning, we're still drinking coffee together and talking about important dyslexia issues. So we're so happy that you made it here today. And we wanted you to start with talking about the movie Mical.
Oh, okay. Well, the movie Mical it turned out really well. We're really pleased with it. It is the story of Mike and his mother. And what happened with Mike is he was an 8-year-old boy who couldn't read. He couldn't spell his own name. And he was starting to really show a lot of distress. You can see it if you see the movie. You'll see a little bit of how that's just been described to me. But he was starting to have fights at school. He was getting bullied, and he was fighting back. He got asked to leave 4 schools. I'm not going to say thrown out, but they strongly advised him to asked his mother to leave. So Pat, she's a math teacher, and what Pat did is she got him assessed, found out he has dyslexia, and there weren't any resources for dyslexia, so she got herself trained. She came over to the States. She got herself trained in this country, and then she took him home and homeschooled him. She homeschooled him about a year, maybe a year and a half, something like that. Sent him back to school, and he was at the top of the class. And he stayed at the top of the class all through school, and he even graduated at the top of his class in law school. So he went from a boy that couldn't spell his name to someone who graduated from law school. So a lot of the movie is their story. It's between a mother and a son, and it's about a passionate mother. She's just like a lioness. She is going to figure. She doesn't know what to do, but she's going to figure it out. There was not a question in her mind that she was going to stand up for her child, figure out what to do, and make it happen. And she really did. So she went on to form the Bristol Dyslexia Center, and the way that evolved as parents started to call her and say, can you help my son or my daughter? And she started around her kitchen table, and it grew and grew and grew and grew to it's a building next door, a 5-story building right next to the one where I am right now.
I love
and
that.
Then that grew into a school that grew into the Belgrave School. So Mike, when he finished law school, in between law school, he was supposed to go to London to do training to be a barrister or apprentice as a barrister. And so he was here in the summer and helping his mom out at the center just by answering the phone in the office, the very busy phone. And parents were calling, especially mothers, but parents were calling and they were crying. And it just brought back to him that the pain, and that, I mean, he really says, I was damaged by school. So it brought it back to him, and he said, this is not what I'm supposed to do. I'm not supposed to be a lawyer. We went back and trained as a dyslexia specialist then, and then I wound up teaching at the center for about 10 years. So that's the story of Mical. We were approached by some filmmakers that had just finished an award-winning film that came from a best-selling book, and that was a story about a boy. It was not a story about a boy with dyslexia necessarily, but the character in the book did have or does have dyslexia, because it's an autobiography of the author, and the author is dyslexic. So this dyslexic author really wanted to give back to the dyslexia community and the children in the United Kingdom. And so he went in search of a project where he and his partner could share their gifts and talents and make something wonderful. And they happened upon us. So we were introduced to them at a fundraiser somewhere, and it just kind of went from there. So, but it's a fantastic movie. Many of the people that worked on it are dyslexic. So many of the crew, a couple of the actors. So it was just wonderful just to work with the hair and makeup people, And they
Mm-hmm.
would just, we'd go there to be kind of educational consultants while they were filming, and they would tell us their stories of themselves and their children. And
Mm-hmm.
so it was just a great thing. And I hope that it touches people.
Yeah, well, I know it does. I spoke with someone who was at the IDA when you previewed it there, I think, and conference, and they said that there was not a dry eye in the house. They said it was extremely moving, and it touched everybody that was there in the room. And so, I know that it's going to have a profound impact, and I think it's so important that we tell that story because it does stay with you. I mean, I know I was that child in school as well. And it really does for a long time. I mean, those things don't just go away. And it was interesting because Dean Bragonier brought up when he was on the show about how sometimes, I think it was Dean or it was Jake, but they said something to the effect of sometimes it's very subtle. Like, what, you're not done yet? Or the messages
Yeah.
kids get, right? And so instead of saying, hey, do you need a little more time?
Mm-hmm.
And so kids internalize that, and they internalize
Mm-hmm.
every little time they get a message like that. And I think that's kind of probably what, Mike probably felt a lot of too.
Probably so. And all, children have different experiences all over the world, and even,
True.
just even within the same school. And so it's not as extreme as it was for Mike. For a lot of kids, I can see where it would be more subtle. Like for
Right.
me, I wasn't allowed into a vocabulary class, or it was some kind of a vocabulary, or a word study class or something in high school. And the teacher came to me and said, I just don't think this is the right fit for you. and
Mm-hmm.
and then the testing came out, the standardized testing. And he
Yeah.
came back to me later and he said, oh, I am so sorry. I didn't realize you had an IQ that high, and that,
Right.
but I was spelling it at the level of a third grader, but I had a
Interesting.
very high
Yeah.
IQ. And then he did allow me into the class, and actually
I
became his
bet.
student his student aide. And I wound up organizing all of the games for the school, for one
Wow.
period all through high school. So he did try to make it up to me, but
That was a
yes, it
valuable
was
lesson
subtle.
for
It
him,
was
isn't
just,
it?
oh, I just don't think this is the right fit for you. I just
Right.
don't think. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I found out late in life that I was tracked all throughout school and that I was on the low track. And it wasn't
Yeah.
until I was an adult that one of my best friends said, you were on the low track. And I was never allowed to be in any of the advanced placement classes, but all of
Yeah.
my friends were in advanced placement classes. So I gravitated towards people who were in those classes and, learned that way.
Yeah.
And then wasn't allowed to. I wasn't even
Yeah.
allowed to go into advanced placement English when English was my strength. So it is interesting how, um, you know, how kids can be put into that little box, and but when they're not, the beauty of it. And then you've seen that at the school over and over and
Yeah.
over again.
I think that goes back again to, one of the main points is teacher training. Is, they don't, it's not like that teacher that worked with me. He wasn't trying to there was no malice involved.
Oh, of
He
course.
just
Yes,
didn't know. He had
yes,
no idea. He didn't know
exactly.
what to look for. He didn't know how to recognize. He didn't know what
Right.
was going on with me. And it wasn't until he saw the testing in black and white that
Hmm.
he thought, oh, I've
Oh, yeah,
missed something here. Something is, yeah. So they just don't,
exactly.
yeah. So many, I'm not gonna say all teachers, but many teachers haven't
Hmm.
had the benefit of being instructed during their teacher training courses. So they don't know.
Exactly. And that's one of the things that I know that we're all passionate about changing.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, and so we're really excited. I have to say today to announce that Silver Linings and Nessy are co-sponsoring a really exciting fundraiser in Sacramento, California, at the Crest Theater, which is a really special place, and bringing it's the world premiere of Mical.
So
So
excited. Yes. Really, really excited about it. Yeah. It's going
yeah,
to be the first time that it's going to be shown in a theater like that. Yeah. So we're really, really excited about it, and so excited to partner with you guys. We feel like we share a real ethos with you, with your passion for working with kids with trauma and kindness, and all of those things, and just early intervention and good solid teaching. We share a lot of the same thoughts, so we're really glad to partner with you and
thank
show
you.
it there.
Yeah.
And we can't wait. You keep talking. There's a message that came in, and I just wanted to read it. And you keep talking. I mean, it didn't come in here. It came just through on my phone. And you keep talking, and I'm gonna try to see if I can get it and just read it out loud, just because it pertained to Michael. So.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. For a second. She was saying you keep talking because she wanted us to keep talking because she's going to look and come back, I think. Okay. Well, I don't know.
Okay.
So Ashley, you're here with me. I was thinking for a second, it was a little weird because I knew you were there. It's so weird to not have you as part of the conversation. And I know it's like, so anyway, so I'm glad that, yeah. Okay.
Obviously I can't do that because it just turned it off, but I'll just paraphrase it. It was from Bosnia. And they were saying that, please tell me when the movie is going to come out because my child is in so much trouble at school that they are about to make him leave the school. And I think if I bought tickets for all the professors, that it might change their minds and my son may get to stay at school. So that was the message that came in. So I just thought that was interesting. We were talking about Michael, and
that is beautiful
coming in from Bosnia. So
I love that. Yeah. No, and the fundraiser is going to benefit two nonprofits. So it will benefit Dyslexia Initiative, this nonprofit, as well as the Dyslexia World Trust, which is your nonprofit.
Right.
And so tell us a little bit about that, though, the Dyslexia World Trust and everything that they've done.
So the Dyslexia Trust was founded by Pat Jones, so Mike's mother that we talked about, that founded the Dyslexia Center, and she founded it. I think it's about 20 years ago now. I'd have to look it up, but it's been around for a long time. But our objective with the trust is to get tutoring to kids whose families cannot afford to get them tutoring. So we want the money to go straight to kids, and sometimes we pay it straight to a tutor. Sometimes we partner with tutors around the world, or we work straight with the family, and the family goes to a tutor. So we just want kids that can't afford it to get tutoring and get it right away, because getting help right away is key, not delaying. And even if we can just help a few, we're helping a few get what they need and get it right away. So that's
what we do so much. And I love the attitude on, even if we're only helping a few, because we have to start somewhere.
We have to start somewhere.
And the more that your foundation does, and different groups do to support children, and the more people get involved in that, and we do more fundraisers like this, the more we're going to be allowed, able to do that for more people. So it's so exciting. So
absolutely, yeah. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Because you can't see me, but I am. I wanted to sort of kind of make it public what some of the plans are with the Dyslexia Initiative, because we've never actually talked about it. We've been working on this for so long, just trying to get to this point, and it's not information that we've shared on any medium really. But we're so excited to work with everybody and be a part of this fundraiser. So I think a lot of people know that we turned the Dyslexia Initiative into a nonprofit over the summer of 2019. We don't have any money yet. But one of the, we've been pretty loud about the fact that our intention is to educate and empower the parent.
Right.
And we've been trying to share as much information as we can, and trying to be the bridge from a lot of the science and a lot of the hard to grasp information, and make it far more accessible to the parent. But in doing that, what we also know is that there's only a small portion of the population within the dyslexic community that can afford advocates. Yeah. And for those of us that can afford advocates, that can, that helps move the bar a little bit for our kids. It's not perfect yet. And that's one thing we all need to work on as a community. But while we're working on that together as a community, what we want to do is start paying for advocates for those people that cannot afford advocates.
That's an awesome mission. And you guys, I hope I didn't speak over you. Did I talk?
No.
Okay, sorry. When I think of you guys, I think of you guys as very parent focused. That's how I see it from this side of it. It seems that is your just kind of your mission is to really be a voice for parents and help lead them in the right direction. Are you guys planning on doing anything like a helpline or anything in that
We, we
genre?
we've talked about a helpline, that's so we have this app where we sort of maintain to do things, ideas, etc. And somebody did bring up having a helpline during this past year, and it's on our list of things to do. That's a little bit of a down the road thing. There's a lot that we have to figure out. But like one of our leaders was in Portland for the IDA conference, and IDA approached us and asked us to create teacher scholarships. We, like you with your foundation, we would like to create scholarships for people to be able to access tutoring.
Yeah.
We want to start paying for advocates. As we evolve that, we want to reach a point where we're paying for due process. In the state of Texas, due process under 504 is $25,000 to $50,000.
Yeah. Wow.
You
I
know,
did not know the cost. Wow, that's incredible.
right. There was testimony.
Ashley, sorry, I don't mean to speak over you, but it brings up an important issue, because when working in education, when I was in education, you hear all the time, well, they're not going to sue. They're not going to sue, so we don't really have to worry about them, right? So I kind of wonder too, if we're going to need to have so many due process cases if we have more advocates, because if there's more advocates going out, there's going to be less need in a way. I mean, it's just an interesting thing to think about.
Yeah.
So
see how that works
changes
out.
the whole dynamic of they can't fight for themselves, so we don't have to worry about them, right? And so, yeah.
The primary purpose in paying for the advocates is I feel very strongly that it moves the battlefront, because it takes it out from just the smaller portion of the population that can afford to take the advocates into the school,
right,
to potentially everybody within the community. And as you empower people to truly fight the system, the school's going to, or, I shouldn't say school, the educational establishment is going to have to stand up and say, oh, wait, you have an entire community fighting us, not a small population of this community.
Exactly. So the more people that are able to fight, the more that they say, we don't want this. It happened when we saw this happen with parents with children with autism, right? Same thing. You get them in numbers coming and saying, we're going to fight, we're going to fight, we're going to fight. Okay, wait a minute. Maybe we'll just change everything so we don't have to keep dealing with these advocates, and things started to change. So it's very true. And so now it changes the playing field, Ashley, right? Yeah, that's what we're saying.
Yeah. So that's our intention. So this is us being public with, this is a big passion of ours. The entire board is committed to it. Our whole leadership is committed to it. And we're excited that this fundraiser exists to help put us on that path to start to move the battlefront. So thank you both.
Yeah, we're very excited.
Thank you for what you do. I mean, you guys are kind of the go-to people for information about all those things that you guys know really probably more than you want to know about, like 504s and IEPs. You probably know a lot more than you want to know. But we're kind of a clearinghouse for people asking for information. So we get hundreds, I don't know, I have to count it up, hundreds a week, maybe, I don't know how many hundreds a week of people writing us. They're either messaging through Facebook, or they're calling one of the 2 call centers, or they're emailing, and a little bit on Twitter and Instagram. But we get so many, and what we can do is we can send people to your Facebook to look for information if it has to do with parent advocacy or IEPs or 504s. And then, when they're Australians, we send them to Dyslexia Victoria Sport, because they do that so well. So it's a great resource for us to be able to know what to do with people, just like the lady from Bosnia. You're not going to be able to help her, but those kind of comments come in all the time. And if they're American comments, and they're in your part of the world, we like to send them your way, because you guys know what to do. And that's not our specialty, for sure.
No, but what I was going to say, Nessy has so many incredible resources as well. So that is your specialty. Before I met you and, and found out more about even the tutoring, I used Nessy's resources for, several years. And so, yeah, I hear that from parents all the time. What a great source you are for resources.
That's our, I mean, we're educationalists, so that's our thing
Mhm.
is creating content really for young children. We focus on children that are quite young. We've got so we're working on Harry Phonological now, which is really coming out so cool. It is. We started working with Yakov Petzer from the Florida Center for Reading Research, so he kind of advised us in the beginning. He's still kind of working with our data a little bit, and it's just coming out so great. And then we're working with Chris Wooden on
Mhm.
Nessy number sense.
Nice.
So yeah, and that's also the earliest. We're in the earliest phases of number sense, so it's for quite young children. It'll go up to older children, but we
Mhm.
have a really young child focus in the office right now. We're working with those 4 to 6 year old age range.
That was actually a question that came up on our page when we first announced that we were going to have you on, Tiffany. That was a question that came up as they said, please tell us when the Chris Wooden Nessie piece is coming out.
Yeah, we get that question a lot. I even got that somebody messaged me last night, I think. The first two apps are about to be released. We think maybe Aprilish. So they are standalone apps. Now, if you know anything about reading and spelling, it's quite a big program. So there's a difference between the apps and the online program.
Okay.
So it's just a little snippet. The apps are just a little snippet, but the first two we're hoping April, and we're hoping for a chunk of the program to be ready by the end of the year. Probably that it's going to be concentrated on the that lower age range again. So it just takes them a lot of time to work through it, but we love to have Chris we love to have him here because it's awesome there in the creative room. So we've got Chris and we have the developers and we have Mike and we have all the artists and they're coming up with all kinds of great things and it's fantastic.
That's
And
so
what's
wonderful.
really funny, and you guys, or especially Enid, would probably identify with this because Ashley, your background is not teaching, right? It's something else.
Right. No, yes, I've spent my entire career in business.
And
So
I thought it was law or something like that. So
I
yeah,
do,
so
yeah, I do negotiation. So procurement, contracts,
yeah,
negotiations. That's what I've spent the last 10 years doing.
that's pretty
Which
cool.
actually plays in really nicely to advocacy. It helps.
Yeah, I mean that's what I mean. You guys know what you're talking about. So when people call and ask me that, I don't know. I send it your way. I don't know the answers, or I don't. I mean, I know a little, but not enough to. I
Yeah.
wouldn't want to advise. I want to, if I'm going to give somebody advice, I really want to feel like I know my subject matter well. I'd rather send them to somebody that knows what they're talking about. So anyway, send it there. But this is something that Enid might identify. So they're working in the office, and so you've got like the educationalists in the office. So you have Mike there,
Oh my
I'm
God.
there, so that might be Yakov there, Yakov Petzer, and then you have like the developers and the artists, and they're just looking at them like, huh? Like, all this talking's going on, and they're trying to communicate what the
Oh,
developers
I
do, and
love
the
it.
developers are going, what?
Oh, that's so great though.
What? You guys are speaking Greek, and then the
Ah,
developers talk, and then we go, what?
yeah, exactly. Oh, I can totally understand. Yep. That must be
Yeah.
so much fun. And I was looking at comments too. Somebody says, love Wooden. Another comment right here that says, my son has used Nessy for 2 years and it's amazing and affordable. He is using Writing Beach currently, and it is
Oh,
exactly what he has needed for his mechanics.
oh,
So,
cool, great.
can you tell us a little bit about Writing Beach? Because there's such a need out there for things for writing. There's just not a lot out there.
Well, I guess Writing Beach it would be more in the realm of grammar, kind of morphology. It's sort of in that realm. It's for children that are 7 and up. So it is if you when you're putting a child on Nessie, you certainly don't put them right into Writing Beach. If you're starting with a young child, so it's
Right.
a child that has some knowledge under their belt. We'd say a minimum of 7, but it's covering those things. It's covering grammar. It's covering punctuation, parts of speech, and it does it in the Nessie way. So it's with the fun videos and
Mhm.
kind of comical, fun ways to do it, and then games. It has a lot of one thing about Writing Beach, and there are some teachers that really enjoy this. Is it has a lot of good printable materials with it. So
Mhm. Nice.
worksheets and kind of a
Yeah.
lot of supporting materials that you can print out.
I like
So it's a
that.
good
Well,
one.
and it's so important that you bring up the grammar and the parts of speech and all the punctuation, all that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
because we really take for granted that students get this. And it's not the
Mm-hmm.
student's fault. But what happens is it's taught to them. I had a really interesting situation happen the other day. A new student, and mom said, I need to let you know that he shows a lot of regression. Okay, this is a kid I've worked with for a whole week, and he's progressed very quickly, and he's learning things very quickly. I said, I question whether he actually shows a lot of regression, or if he's being taught in a way that he can make an emotional attachment to it and actually right. And so
as a
it
hook
is
onto it.
so important. And what the other thing I wanted to bring up is that reading is not just decoding. And we talk a lot about decoding and phonological awareness and everything, but it's the language, the vocabulary, the language, is such another part of it that sometimes gets left out. When we talk about structured literacy, that's what we're talking about. So
right, exactly. And that is something that people, there's a lot of misconception about in this country for sure. Is, they talk about the reading wars and they think it's just phonics, and it really isn't just I mean, phonics is the foundation, and you have to have phonological awareness and phonics there, and that needs to be solid, and they need to know how to do that. But you have to add the other pillars on. So you have to add all of those things that we just talked about, plus fluency, and then comprehension will come. Comprehension comes if you have those other pieces in place. So it doesn't make any sense to start with comprehension and work backwards. It it doesn't work that way. You've got to build your way up.
That is a good point.
Yes, when people say, well, phonics just doesn't work, a lot of times I find here in this culture is that they think phonics is just a phoneme and a grapheme, or they just think it's a letter sound in a letter, and that they think it's that, and then maybe a little sounding out, like a little CVC sounding out. They think that's phonics, and it didn't work for their kid because they know that and they still can't read. Well, got to go further than that.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't have the vocabulary. It doesn't have the understanding of the structure. There's so many other levels, and
right. I mean, you teach them how to break those words apart and the etymology of the words, and you just keep building and building, and they keep learning and learning.
Exactly, correct. And I want to say one more thing about that one comment was when she said it's extremely affordable. Truly, I want to say to everyone out there, because I highly, 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 highly recommend Nessy for early intervention. I mean, if you are even remotely concerned that your child might be dyslexic because they had a lot of and I know, or might have reading challenges, either because of a lot of ear infections, or because dyslexia is genetic in the family, or because, the older sibling has it, for any of those reasons, and you say there's a possibility that this child might struggle, I highly recommend Nessy, because it truly is a trip to Starbucks. It's $12 a month, and so I say that's a trip to Starbucks. And, I know that it's something that I want to really stress, that because you have made it so accessible to so many people. I'm so excited. I'm spilling my coffee. But you've made it so accessible to so many people, and it's so important early on. And what I love about Nessy, when you gave me the trial to try it and to see what it was all about, is that there is a really brilliant assessment piece included. And what I was just saying about these students, when we're like, oh, they didn't get it, well, because it wasn't, for whatever reason, they didn't. So we've got to keep going back and checking. And the problem with a lot of what's happening today with kids either showing regression or not progressing, is that we're not going back and checking for mastery. And then exactly, well, and making sure they have mastery. And that's what I really like about Nessy, because if you're moving along, because sometimes you can kind of get it for a couple days and then not quite have it.
Right. Yeah. It takes a lot of repetition sometimes for a dyslexic kid. Yeah.
So to then go along and be like, oops, they don't totally have mastery. Let's take them back to the learning part of it again, make sure they get mastery, and then take them through it, and then fill the next hole. And I love that. And I can't stress enough how important that is in any program. But specifically, I love that it's the early intervention piece. It's easy to use. The kids get to name a monkey. It's their monkey. I mean, they love the monkey. They get to, and I love that they get to not own the monkey. They have ownership with the game, and that, it's just, so I know I can go on and on, but I really truly, it's such an important thing for early intervention. It really, it's important for any of the programs and any of the things that you have to provide, but it would be such an easy way to really help those kids be, more prepared when they enter kindergarten.
Oh, well, yeah. That's, and we truly do try to keep it There probably anyone that owns a business, or you'll probably find lots of it. But I really mean that from the heart. We really try to keep it at a price that's affordable, and we can still pay our people and have our servers and do all of that. So we make a conscious effort to keep it so that, because it is our personal passion, Mike and I, that kids learn to read, and and we really don't care if I mean, I'd love for them to use ours. We think it's a great program, but we would love for them to use Wilson or Barton or something that a tutor designs, as long as it's good structured literacy, or anything. We just want kids to learn to read, and we want to try to keep kids from having all that emotional baggage that comes along from being a dyslexic kid in the school system, because we both were, and we have children, and we both have worked with so many hundreds of children and families, that we see the pain that it causes, and it's still causing. So we really want kids to just learn how to read. Yeah. I was going to tell you about when you're talking about Nessy and the way that it assesses. There are two ways you can set it up, and you've probably figured this out. But there's a tutor. You can set it up in target mode, which monitors the kid's progress and then takes them through, just tries to fill in the things that they need to work on, and then spirals back and makes sure they have it. Or you can set it on tutor mode, and then the tutor decides what they're going to work on. And there's a reason why we did it that way, is because when we brought it into schools, our intention was so that a teacher that wasn't trained and wasn't a specialist or a teacher's aide, or could just run it without any. I mean, they don't even have to. We've done some testing, and they don't even have to really do anything but make sure the kids log on, and it takes it through, and it gets them in a path with filling in the things that they need. But we didn't want to take it away, the ability for a professional like you to say, well, I know this child needs more of this, and this is what we're going to focus on this day. So that's why. So when you go in, you can change it back and forth.
Yeah. And that's great for any program to have some flexibility, because just like all children, all teachers are different. Yeah. So we need to be able to be flexible in our teaching styles as well. So I love that you give that, you have that ability with that. So yeah, it's a great.
We feel pretty strongly about just teaching being individualized in a classroom, and because not all kids are on the same, they're all, especially by second grade, they're really spread out. So technology allows, the teacher doesn't have to, the teacher can let the program do some of the placement for all of these kids, so they're working on exactly what they need, because they're not all going to be needing the same stuff at the same time.
And that's the important part, right?
Yeah, it's individualized. Yeah.
Ashley, do you have anything to add? Is she still there?
I don't know.
I guess not. Okay. So
no, I had it because Graham came to ask me a question.
I said, anything you'd like to add? I wanted to make sure you had, or if there were any.
Well, I was just earlier. I like what she said about, a lot of people get confused because they think that the science of reading is just phonics. Yeah. And I love that Tiffany really called that out. And I was going to plug a little bit the Educate podcast by APM Reports. Yes. They did. I think it was the December 20th episode that they did on the new salvos and battles over reading. I'm trying to flip through my podcast app right now. Obviously, I'm having a lot of technical difficulties here. I've got 4 different machines going. But in the review of Lucy Calkins' program that came out, and I wish I could remember his exact name, but it's been a couple of weeks since I listened to the podcast. He said it. This man, this expert in reading, who was one of the reviewers of the Lucy Calkins program, said, it just, people need to give up the argument that science of reading is just phonics. Everybody knows it's not just phonics. That argument has absolutely got to die. So I love that he said it. So when you brought it up, that instantly made the podcast pop into my head, and I just wanted to plug APM to Educate.
That's a terrific source of information. And I was just discussing this with a couple of people over the last couple of days, is that, the thought leadership for the academic leadership and the thought leadership. The U.S. and Australia, they're really leading the way. And so I really think even though there's so much arguments with the science of reading going on in the United States and even in Australia, you guys are further ahead than we are here, because and I know this by the type of comments that come in to us. So we go all over we go all over the globe, and only 20% of our followers are British. But the types of comments that come in, if they're negative comments about phonics, they're almost always they're almost always. I mean, we know pretty much where they're coming from just by reading the types of comments. So if it's about colored lenses, it's likely to be British. I mean, if they're fighting me because I said something about colored lenses or crazy glasses or something, they're fighting me about that. If it's about phonics doesn't work for dyslexic kids, they're likely to be from this location. So we're looking towards the the thought leadership in the United States, and I just meant it just came to mind because what the reference you just gave, I mean, is a great tool, a great place for people to go for good information all over the world. I'm encouraging the whole world to look at it.
Yes.
I wanted to do a couple quick comments. I have Monique Day, who's a good friend of mine, who's a reading teacher, who's Barton trained, says, I agree, Enid, Nessy never hurts and can help any child.
Yeah.
He uses Nessy, loves Nessy. So what I'm trying to say there too is it's okay to combine programs.
Yeah. And we're fine with that too. Yeah.
She's very passionate about Barton, and she's very passionate about Nessy. So I just kind of wanted to share that because I think that's important too, just to know that there's so many benefits to different programs and for different kids, but every child benefits, in my opinion, from Nessy. And then the other comment was Nessy should be used as a prevention measure as well. So we know instruction in school is more likely to omit phonemic awareness. So even more important to make sure. So she's saying preventative measure for any child, because we know they're not going to get a proper, from what we know about what's happening in schools today, they're not going to get a proper exposure to phonological awareness and phonemic awareness at this point. So to look at it, so I'm just saying to parents out there that have little ones, look at it in terms of, okay, they're going to go to school solid in these skills no matter what, even if they're not getting them at school.
So to Monique's comment, I agree, and I will tell you that the center that I own in Texas, many of the tutors there are Barton trained and use Nestle as a supplement. So we will say this and say it all the time, that we are never going to say Nestle is supposed to replace a one-on-one teacher. A one-on-one teacher is always best, but what it was designed for, it was to get to the masses, for people to, I mean, they can supplement with it, or there are so many people that just don't have access to anything. And so a one-on-one specialist like yourself is always going to be better than an online program, but the online program is a great supplement, and it's great on its own. The other comment is, I did a long case study in several schools, but one of them was at a Texas school. And just because Ashley's in Texas, it was a Texas school, followed the kids from kindergarten through second grade. And they used it in second grade as a classroom. It was just part of their daily routine. Every child, every ability level, everyone got Nessy in the classroom. And the results were incredible. So we were comparing it to a paper-based program. So the kids that got the paper-based program didn't do anywhere as close to the ones that got Nessy as the phonics instruction in the classroom. So it can be used for a whole class for phonics as well. So
exactly, and as a preventative measure, because although you're saying supplemental, they may not have so many issues if they're given this exposure. And I have to say, one of the things I found with working with my students, and we know about learning, is that when you can make an emotional connection, have an association to something else that's meaningful to you, you're going to be able to learn something better. So again, the monkey, and having this, like, it's fun, it's, and that's the other thing, when learning is fun, kids get engaged in it. So with all of those things in place, this kid is having this emotional connection because they're experiencing success too, and because they have this special little character that they're with. I believe that that's one of the reasons why they saw those results from that to paper, because
I think that's a great, that's a great, I think that's a great way of looking at it. Supplement. So let me clarify that. So supplement to a specialist like you. So if the child has significant, so if we know the child has dyslexia, or significant reading issues, and they have a one-on-one tutor. It's a great supplement for all of those programs that we mentioned. Many of those, Barton Wilson, all of those. But it for a general class, it's good for everyone. It's good for everyone in the class, because you're going to have some kids in there that really, that's just enough. It's enough for them. That's all they need. It's enough structured literacy for them. It's enough. It's going to get them to what they need to get on to the next level.
Sorry, I had a question coming in.
Okay. I can't see them.
No, so, oh yeah, and another good comment, this comment just came in,
Okay.
was that it allows teachers to work with small groups while other people are working online.
Yeah.
So that came from a special ed teacher. So it's true. It's like it's brilliant, because truly, when sometimes you need to target instruction for a student where you really need to give them that intense one-on-one, and sometimes that's a really good point, because let's say we introduced rhyming, and one student needs rhyming a lot more, and 3 out of the group can just need reinforcement of rhyming.
Yeah.
Put them on Nessy. Well, you're really targeting it strong with that one kid who needs a little bit more of that one-on-one.
Yeah.
So that's a really great suggestion.
Great. We see teachers using it that way when they're using it in the whole classroom. It's really brilliant. So they break the kids up into like 3 groups, and they do a rotation. And so you have 2 of the groups on Nessy, and then one group is at her table or his table, and they're working on specific skills, because she has them grouped together and things. And then she rotates them through and then takes the next group in. So yeah, it works brilliantly that way.
Something that teachers could really benefit from too, because it's overwhelming in the schools right now. And so they're trying to meet the needs of all the kids, and it's really challenging. And then you don't feel like you're giving them busy work or just sticking them on a computer. They're getting very valuable interventions. So it's wonderful. All right, Ashley, you got to keep us. How are we doing on time and everything? Do you have anything to add?
We're at 42 minutes, so we're approaching the 45 mark. So we might want to think about wrapping up.
Okay. I'm thinking that I definitely want to encourage everyone that's in the Northern California area to really consider coming for our fundraiser. It's going to be really neat. I mean, I've never been to a film premiere, and we're going to have a red carpet and a really fun photo booth, and the movie, and a meet and greet with some really special people in the dyslexia world, including Tiffany and Mike. And I'm just so excited about it. So I'm really hoping, to just have people spread the word in the Sacramento and Northern California area.
Well, we're so excited. We're so excited to come and participate in this. And then the office is all a Twitter about it already. We're excited about, because the art team's getting ready to design some invitations and do all kinds of fun stuff. So we're so excited about it.
Oh yes, so exciting. And it's going to 2 really incredible causes. And I think it's what I'm really excited about as well, is we're getting some really wonderful people together that share the same passion and the same, ideas about where we want to go with helping parents. And so it's really going to be a great opportunity too, just to meet people in this realm. And yes, we're very excited.
Yeah. I mean, we love that. I mean, and Ashley and I and you as well have this same passion, and it is trying to provide these types of services to families that just can't afford it. I mean, not that we wouldn't want everyone in the world to have it, but there are some families that just can't afford it, and they really, it's heart-wrenching to not be able to take care of their children and get their children what they need. And so it's being able to do our small part and help with a little bit of that.
I agree. And I have to say too, Enid, this was your brainchild, and you threw it together, and you connected with Tiffany, and you both just absolutely ran with this and made this a reality. And
none of this would be happening without her.
I'm so excited.
Right. I was just going to say, none of this would be happening without Tiffany and Nessy. I mean, we're so grateful to partner with them, and I'm just So I thought of it, reached out to Tiffany, and it just went from there. Just beautiful.
And I can't wait to see Mical, because I know our leader Alicia came home from Portland and said even the men were crying. Truly, everybody in the room was bawling at the end of Mical, and I was just like, I'm dying to see it.
Well, we're excited to show it. I wanted to tell Ashley before we sign off. So the book What I Need is Grant is actually he's selected to be in the book. So you're gonna get an email from Lucia asking you to verify that is okay. But I had my team give me a list of their favorite dyslexia superheroes. And there's 7 of them that have been selected. So they gave me the list, and I went through the list, and added 1 or 2 of my own. But so we have our final 7 list, and Grant was one that was voted by both groups to be in that 7. So, but so you'll get a letter to make sure that it's okay before he's in there. If it is okay, the artist Leah will probably next week start putting him into caricature for a page. So it'll be fun.
He will absolutely love that. So, just a little bit of plug about him. He just turned 11 last week, but for his 10th birthday last year, he raised $1,400 to give. He wanted to buy dog food to take to the animal shelter where he got his dog Henry.
Yeah.
And I knew that Tiffany and Nessy were doing dyslexic
celebrating kids with that have
and one of my friends encouraged me to reach out to you and to do that. So I sent you a message, and y'all put Graham up as donating the food. We didn't get around to it until the fall because our schedules are so manic. But in the fall we went and bought $1,400 worth of dog food, which equated to a couple hundred pounds. Sadly, it was only going to last the shelter about a day and a half.
Yeah.
$1,400 was going to feed dogs for a day and a half. That was kind of sad, but
wow.
Well, what a great thing he did to do that. We were so impressed, and I believe it. I believe it'll have he and Henry together, the page. But again, we'll make sure it's okay with you before and him before we put him in. We won't have his last name.
He will be so excited. But thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. And it was the team that sent over that short list to me. So it touched their hearts. And we have, I think, about 100 Nessy superheroes. So
wow.
And we had to narrow it down to just 7. So he really touched their hearts as well. So
thank you. He's my baby boy. Proud of him.
Sweetheart too. I know. So such a big heart. I mean, to do that, that's beautiful.
Oh yeah. We love it. Don't we? We'd love to see children that are kind of giving of themselves to causes or others. Just it's lovely, isn't it? When you see really working for other people or animals.
It is. Makes me feel like maybe I'm doing something right.
You are.
I think you must be.
I wanted to give 2 special shout outs today. I meant to do this. Lindy Jones for the beautiful Dyslexia Initiative mugs. Thank you so much, Lindy, for sending us our mugs. And I wanted to give a special shout out to Nikki Barner, an extraordinary advocate in Sacramento, who without her we wouldn't be able to do this fundraiser. So
she's doing great work, isn't she?
Oh my gosh, she is just it's
I can't
incredible.
wait to meet her. She must be a dynamo. Yes,
she is a dynamo, and she's making it happen and doing so much, and I'm so grateful for her. So yes,
really good. And then I wanted to mention too that if anyone emails me that's watched this, they're gonna get they'll get the What I Need book first when it comes out. Like I will show you some of Leah's artwork. So, and the one that Grant will be in, if that's okay with Grant. Yes, if they email me and said that they watched this, that they were watching it, and they send me an email, they'll get one of the first copies. We'll get them an electronic PDF, and then we'll get them the actual book in the mail to them, no matter where they are in the world.
Do you have? I can't believe I didn't have it with me today because it's truly my favorite book. Do you have Dyslexia Explained so you can hold it up?
I don't have one right here in front of me.
I do, but my camera doesn't work.
Always has it right there.
There's not one down in the other room, but I don't
know. But you know what? I'm going to post it today on.
Okay.
So please explain to me how people get that book, because I know it's not. You don't sell it in the United States. So how do they go about getting that book? Because it truly is the best
in the United States. The money raised from it goes to the trust. So they have to just write into info@nessy.com. The American team will get it out, but the money goes to the trust. And then actually, Mike and I are going to the Dyslexia show in the United Kingdom, and we have a bunch of things like the new book, What I Need. We'll have Dyslexia Explained, and some other fun Harry stuff that's really cool. And every time anybody buys any of that Nessy stuff, all the money just goes directly into the trust to support kids with tutoring, or send teachers to to be certified to learn structured literacy. So it goes to one of those two things if they buy something.
I
That
love
is
that.
so wonderful. Mm-hmm.
I love that. Well, Tiffany, thank you so much for coming on. Again,
Oh,
I
you're welcome.
apologize for, being almost an hour late. I appreciate your patience with that.
these things happen. I'm glad we got it working. So
Yeah.
yes, it was lovely to talk to you both.
It was absolutely lovely. And say hi to Mike, and we'll
Look
actually
forward to
see you in
seeing you in
person.
May. Yeah, you're coming out in May,
May
right?
30th. Yes,
May,
we have to say the date. May 30th. Everybody put it on your calendars.
May 30th, Sacramento, California.
Okay, we'll meet you there.
We
Yes.
will. Well, thank you both, and have a great rest of your day.
Okay.
All right. Bye.
Ladies.
Happy
Bye,
Saturday.
everybody.
Happy Saturday. Bye bye.